Yes, I've been asked to say something about why do we need partners, and I guess my answer to that is because we need each other. But let me perhaps start by introducing Vestry House Museum and our involvement with the Everyday Muslim project, for those of you who may not know. Vestry House Museum is a local history museum for the London Borough of Waltham Forest. It was established in 1931, and it very much aims to tell the story of the people of Waltham Forest from the earliest start right to the present day. So you can see there's quite a big scope there. And what that has resulted to is that we very much have a collection that's very, very strong on 19th century, early 20th century. It's very strong on domestic life, so personal stories, things like costume work, that kind of thing. And it's very strong on photography and drawings of the local area. But that means it's also quite weak on certain subjects, and one of the subjects it's weak on is the post-war to the present day, which is a huge thing. And I'm saying this, you know, I'm representing Vestry House Museum here, but I think that's very much the case for a lot of local history museums across the country. It also is quite weak at reflecting diversity of the borough. I think if I give an example, we have a photography collection of about 80,000 photographs of Waltham Forest through times. Now this is a complete guess, but I would be highly surprised if there's more than 50 photographs in there which directly represent Muslim heritage, things like mosques, you know, anything like that. It's just the time period isn't quite right. And that's something we're very aware of and something we're absolutely desperate to change, which is, of course, one of the reasons we got involved. I think maybe it might be worth just saying something about how we ended up in that position as a museum, because it's obviously not something that's deliberately happened. You know, it's not deliberately trying to not collect. I think one of the realities for smaller museums like ours is that we very much rely on people coming forward with donations. So it's quite a passive way of collecting. A very common way for us to acquire new things for the collection, for example, is somebody saying, oh, you know, my father has died, I'm clearing out the house, I found all these old things that say Walthamstow on it. Would you be interested in having those for the museum? But that means you're very much stuck with that kind of 1930s to 1950s time frame. I think even when we are more active and we go out either through HLF-funded projects or working in partners, we don't always have the contacts there. So, for example, as part of the museum, we also have a local studies library and an archive. And within that archive, we have like church files, you know, because people are interested generally in landmarks. So they want to know what's going on with that building, or, you know, how it changed over time when it was built, that kind of thing. So we have that for churches, and we're trying to do that for mosques, because there's some really interesting stories to be told there, which you can see in the brochure that's been produced by Everyday Muslim, of people, you know, coming and starting to pray in houses, and that getting bigger and bigger until people funded and created mosques. So that's something that we're then trying to do, but, you know, it's building up that network and those contacts and introducing who we are and our genuine interest in the history of the building and the story of its creation is something we need to try and get across. So it's very much about building relationship and raising awareness. I'm looking at my clock, my standing clock. So why did we get involved with Everyday Muslim? Well, exhibitions and working in partnership is a really good way to for us to expand our collection and to use the local knowledge and the skills and the network to enrich our collection. And so it was very much, we got involved because we recognize there is a gap, we recognize there's a problem there, and that's something we need to address, and we need help in doing it. I also really felt strongly that the emphasis in this project on the everyday was really important. You know, it's not always about just the big events, or you know, there's a yearly procession, for example, through Walthamstow, but you know, that's something we have, but everyday life is very different. I also really like the clearly defined output here, the exhibition, the emphasis on legacy, so very much not just about creating a one-off exhibition, but what about starting an archive in which a lot more people could find could find resources and could find information. Okay, so in the beginning, I said my idea about a partnership is that we need each other, and I would say that museums, as a museum, you need to be meaningful to the local community that lives around you. There needs to be a sharing of memory and culture and a preserving of that culture. That's what we're there for, and we need help in including British Muslims in that. Yeah, and I think in terms of, but as a museum, what a museum should be able to offer, if you're, is the kind of ongoing legacy element of your heritage project. So if you've created this, you made all these fantastic oral history recordings, you've collected photographs, documents, a place for them to be deposited so that they can be kept, can be preserved, and can be a resource for many years to come is something that we will be doing. Also an audience, I think there's a really big interest in local history in the area, and lots of different groups that are interested in working and finding out more about it as well. So, hopefully it can be a place to bring people together. And finally, of course, a museum could be a public space, it's a platform to share your heritage, to bring different ideas. Museums aren't safe places, they shouldn't just be about, well, they are safe places, but they shouldn't be neutral places. Sorry, let me say that completely wrong. We are very safe, but we don't have to be neutral. We can actually challenge the status quo, and we'd like to help do that. Okay, thank you.